Hello there, welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. My name is Jessie and I'm a yoga teacher and holistic health coach from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and today I'm going to teach you an absolute beginner's practice. So if you have never done yoga before or you have taken a class in the past but it's been a while and you feel like you could use a refresher on some of the very basic poses and sequences of yoga, then this is going to be a great video for you. So not too much more intro than that. We're going to start off in this seated position. So coming to a seat that feels comfortable for your body. So sitting cross-legged is sometimes called easy seat pose in yoga classes, but it is not really easy for everybody. If you find it very painful to sit like this or just uncomfortable, then I would recommend grabbing a pillow, putting that underneath of your sit bones, just to elevate the hips up a little bit. A pillow or a bolster if you happen to have something like that. If it's still uncomfortable, then you can take your legs and just place them out straight. So it doesn't matter what leg is in front for now, we're going to switch in about a minute. Just taking the hands to the knees, sitting up nice and straight, so you can close your eyes and just let your attention sink down into your body. So your eyes might slightly roll down in their sockets as you inwardly take stock of how your body is feeling as we start this class. Noticing your breath now. There's still areas of your body you haven't noticed or new sensations come up, you can still observe those, but starting to pay attention to your inhales and exhales and how they're moving through your body. If you're feeling quite stressed out, there's a good chance that your shoulders are hunched up towards your ears. So take them purposely up towards the ears, really high, and then drop them back down and around towards the back of the room and the floor. So your shoulder blades will kind of come together behind you and pull in a little bit as you open through your chest. See if you can breathe into your belly. So again, stress will cause us to just breathe into just our chest without sending that breath deeper into the body. So you want to really fill up your lungs. So your lungs are actually really big. They go quite deep down into the body, and when you're inhaling and taking a really deep breath, those lungs get so big that it pushes your organs out. So that it's not that you're actually breathing into your belly, it's that your lungs are getting so big with breath that they're pushing out on your organs. And you might think that that sounds like a bad thing, but it's actually not. There are plenty of physiological benefits to getting that sort of pumping action going. Okay, so let's take this opportunity to gently open the eyes. You can blink a few times to let the light in slowly and then switch the cross of those legs if you are sitting cross-legged. If you're sitting with legs straight, you can just take a little shake of your legs and maybe massage a little bit through the quads. They might be getting a little bit tired. You can close off the eyes again here. And we're just going to take a few neck stretches gently. So sitting up tall again, making sure that you're not leaning forward or slouching. Your shoulders should be right above your hips, and then you're going to bring your head down. So face towards floor, chin to chest. Now you will come to a certain point where you'll start to want to round through the shoulders, but don't let that happen. Keep your shoulders back and down so the spine is still nice and tall. Just the head and neck are bending, and if you want to, you can add your interlaced fingers to the back of your head, just applying really gentle pressure to the back of the head, helping to bring that stretch down the spine a little further. Release that. Bringing your head back up nice and slowly, gently, bringing the hands back to the knees. You can take your head down, right ear to right shoulder. Getting a nice stretch down the left side of the neck. If you like, you can take your left hand and start to reach out towards the floor, just hovering the fingers a few inches off of the floor. And that'll help to bring that stretch down through the neck and even into the arm. Somewhere that it's quite difficult to stretch sometimes. That'll get right down the inside of your arm. You might even feel it in your fingertips as you stretch and reach. Releasing the hand, releasing the head, and over to the other side. So just taking it right into that second side, left ear to left shoulder, and if you want to take your right hand and reach away. So just hovering a couple of inches above the floor with those fingertips, letting that lengthening effect as you reach, stretch through that whole side, neck, shoulder, arm, and like I said, you might feel this right down all the way into your fingertips. Release the hand, and then your head you can release down and forward. We'll just take some half neck circles, so you don't usually roll all the way around the back of the neck as well, because it's really easy to get carried away or start to possibly injure your neck, which of course you do not want to do. Yoga shouldn't be causing injuries. It should be a way to heal the body of injuries. Moving the head down through center one last time, and then gently bringing it back up, coming back into this space. We're going to shift into child's pose. So child's pose is an excellent resting position. You'll come onto all fours. You'll take your knees out about as wide as your mat is. If you're not using a mat, I think they're about 3 feet wide usually. That'll give you an idea. You don't need to have a mat necessarily to practice yoga, but you want to be on a carpeted surface. It's nice to have the grip though for a lot of the positions so your feet aren't sliding. So to complete our child's pose, you're going to start to walk the hands forward as you sit the hips back. So I've been practicing for a long time and I have a pretty flexible body naturally, so it's really easy for me to sit my hips back right into my heels, but this might be, again, one of those things that looks easy but is really uncomfortable for you. So don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. If your hips stop about there, that's fine. You're walking your hands forward as far as you can, lowering that chest down. So if you can sit back all the way towards the heels with the hips, that's wonderful. You're probably living in a more open body as well, which is such a privilege, and you should feel so grateful for that natural ability that just comes. So bringing the chest down, lowering as far as you can, coming right onto the forearms if possible, just sort of trying to become a nice long pancake, reaching forward with the hands, sitting back with the hips. No, you go lie down. So child's pose is a really great one to come to if you ever just need a moment to rest. Some of my other videos and a lot of the other videos that I've seen on YouTube are more vinyasa flow, power yoga based, and in those they can be really fast paced and a lot like almost a cardio version of yoga. So a lot of times in those types of classes you might need just a moment to rest, and you can come into child's pose at any point. We're going to walk the hands over to one side. So you can start on the right hand side. You'll bring your right hand just over to the side of your mat. So if you have it lined up so your hand is just a little bit outside of your knee on that side, you can bring your left hand over on top of the right hand and then sink down again. Same thing, sink through the chest, sink through the hips. And as you lower down, you're going to feel your left side body start to open up. So we're getting a side bend stretch here in our child's pose. So the hips are still opening as well. And if you wanted to, you could move your hip over a little bit more towards the right hand side to continue that opening and get an even deeper side bend stretch. Totally optional to move the hip. You could absolutely just keep your hips where they are. Let's walk over to the other side. So we're just going to take one hand at a time, going right over to the left. Same thing, just outside the mat. the left hand or lined up with the knee, and then lowering down, right hand on top of left. Chest comes towards the floor as you breathe. So you're going to be breathing a little bit more into your right side body as your left side is contracted, and that's what's giving you that side bend stretch that we're wanting here. So go with that, go with the flow of your breath. And then coming back into the center, lowering down through the chest, bringing it nice and low to the floor, letting those hips open up for one more breath. And then come forward back onto all fours or tabletop position. So from our tabletop position, we'll come into cat-cow. So this is a sequence of 2 poses and 1 breath that you just repeat over and over again. So the inhale part of the breath looks like this. This is the cow part, so you drop your belly down, letting everything sink towards the mat. Keep your shoulders and your hips lifted. Inhaling as you hold that for a few seconds, and then exhaling as you round the spine up. Your gaze will drop down or back towards your legs. You'll tuck your pelvis under as you arch your spine up, really sending it high towards the ceiling. Inhale again, that spine's going to drop down, opening up through the ribs, the core. Exhale, sending the spine up nice and high. So cat-cow is such a good stretch to do because it connects you with your breath, connects your movement with your breath as well, which is key for getting a good yoga practice. You're stretching all the parts of your spine in this as well, and getting the flexion and extension in both ways. Each and every vertebra moving and getting lubricated again. A lot of that soreness and stiffness in joints just comes from them being lacking in joint fluid. So yoga is a great way to get that moving and flowing. Same with those deep breaths. So from our all fours position here, we're going to enter into a forward fold. Bringing your feet, tucking under your toes, and then walking the hands back as you lift your knees. So you'll be closer to the back of your mat surface, and that's totally fine. We're going to extend ourselves out from here into a downward facing dog, but first we're just going to actually relax in this nice forward fold. So in our forward fold here, just going to let your body be heavy, your upper body, your lower body can be bent. So your legs can bend in as much as you need to. You want to actually feel your belly touching your legs, maybe even your chest, and then you can work on straightening the legs from that place. Just letting the head and neck be super heavy. You can shake your head no, nod your head yes, and just hang out. So you can see it here, I'm holding opposite elbows with my hands, creating this little weight to almost draw me down a little further. You can drop the hands to the floor, and we're going to start to walk back out into a downward facing dog. So you can come to a plank first. Toes should be tucked under, legs nice and long and strong. Then we're going to start to push through the hands, lifting the hips up. So your arms are going to come to a diagonal, and they should line up biceps alongside the ears. Hips are going to lift, so the spine is getting a lot of length. And you can bend through the knees if it's really intense to have your legs straight in this pose. Knees bent, especially for the first downward facing dog. I like to really focus on the upper body getting a nice stretch. So your head and neck should still be pretty loose. Hands really grounded down into your mat, gripping in almost as if you're trying to grab it and pick it up. You can start to straighten the legs out a little bit more if you're a little more flexible. And then let's come back into that plank position, shifting the weight forward again. Shoulders come right over the hands, and you can drop your knees down. So we're in a nice low plank. From here, come all the way down to the floor slowly with control through the triceps, getting a little bit of strength work there. From here, we're going to come into Sphinx Pose. So bringing the forearms forward so you can get elbows underneath the shoulders. Sphinx Pose is a great back bend to start to warm into poses like Cobra, which we're going to practice right away. So all the poses that we're working through and doing as part of this warm-up, or most of them anyways, are poses that are going to lend themselves well to our Sun Salutation. So that's the flow that we're building up to. If you are familiar with Sun Salutations, then you will recognize the plank, downward facing dog, cobra, and forward fold are the main poses that we use to create that sequence, which is foundational in yoga. So let's come down onto the chest again, pulling the hands back in. So your elbows are right in beside your waist, hands right under the fronts of the shoulders. From here, you'll inhale, press the floor away, keeping the hips nice and low, so hips stay grounded the whole time. Elbows stay in, shoulders stay back and down. Gaze lifts, chest lifts for Cobra. So your Cobra might be quite low for the first repetition. That's fine. You'll come down as you exhale. So we're going to do that 3 more times. So you'll inhale, lift up, press the floor away. Hips stay low. Exhale down. Second inhale, second lift, elbows in, shoulders back. Exhale down. One more inhale, one more lift. One more exhale, lowering down. So this tricep should be maybe burning a little bit, especially if you're not used to working in that area. So one more pose before we move right into our half Sun Salutation. So again, just starting to build into yoga flows, getting used to working with the breath. So one way that we work with the breath a lot is with seated forward folds and twists. So I want to do one of each of those before we move into our sequences, just to complete our warm-up. So for the forward fold part of this, you're going to bring your right foot in just alongside the left thigh. So as you sit up here, you're going to take an inhale breath. You might even bring your arms up overhead, and then you'll exhale, starting to fold forward from the hips, keeping your spine nice and long. So it might not be a very deep forward fold. Forward folds have always been hard for me. They probably always will be. Whatever. So to make that a little bit easier, what I like to do is bend the knee in a little bit. That allows me to get a little bit lower, bring my chest and my belly a little bit closer to my upper leg. You can grab for, the toes, sides of the foot, the ankles, the floor, whatever you like to work with. You can flex into that foot. It will intensify the stretch even more. If you don't want a really intense stretch, you feel free to keep the toe a little bit more pointed or relaxed. Keeping the gaze forward, so you're not allowing your head to just round down towards the knee. You want to keep your spine in alignment. And then let's come to sit up here. To get the twist, we'll bring this right foot up and over to the other side of the knee. Bringing that knee in nice and close. Sitting up nice and tall, so you can see the spine getting prepared to move into the twist by straightening first. You'll take this left arm and bring it around to wrap around the leg. Right hand is going to sit back. So twists are great for your digestion. If you've recently eaten, you might find this a little uncomfortable. You might have a little burp like I did. You're sitting up nice and tall here as you inhale, and you're exhaling as you twist. right from the belly, through the ribs, through the chest, and through the shoulders as well. You might even start to turn your head and neck a little bit if that feels okay for your body. So every breath sitting up, twisting a little bit more. Just micro twists. And then let's release that. Taking a twist to the other side just to balance things out. And then extending out through the right leg. So just shake your legs out a little bit. Maybe massage a little bit through the quads. And then you're going to bring your left leg in so that the left foot is against the inner thigh on the right side. Inhale, reach those hands up. Exhale, you might be bending the knee in if you did that on the other side and you found that worked well for you. Or you might like to keep the leg a little bit more straight if you, again, are a little bit more flexible through your lower body. Keeping the foot flexed here, or maybe you want to relax the foot. So you'll notice I give a lot of different options, and that's because all bodies are built so differently and so individually. Even if two bodies have the same types of proportions, they still aren't going to move in the exact same way in all these different yoga poses. There will be subtle differences. Even from side to side in the same exact body, you can have a very different experience with a certain pose. So it's all about finding the modifications that work well for you. So if bending the knee feels so much better in your forward fold, then you can carry that on through, and even if another teacher doesn't offer that modification, you can always take it because you know that it works for your body. You can start to sit up now, and we'll move into our twist. So taking your left foot up and over to the other side of the knee, starting to sit up tall. The right arm is going to come around and wrap that knee. Sitting up tall here. Left hand is going to be your kickstand, helping you sit up nice and tall. Inhale, exhale, coming deeper into that twisted posture to the side. It's important to note here that you want to make sure your hips are still both grounded down and that your one hip is not lifting up and away from the floor. That would be your left hip wanting to lift on this side. Just make sure it stays grounded. A couple more breaths here. Just want to spend a little time in these poses. That's how we get them to really work for us. We just spend 2 seconds in a stretch, we haven't really gotten as much out of it as we could. When you spend 30 seconds or more in a pose, that's where the real healing can begin. So starting to unravel, taking the feet, you'll swing your feet around to the side. We're going to come back into our downward facing dog, okay? So coming into the plank position first, then sending those hips up and back, maybe straightening through the legs, maybe keeping them bent. Let's take our dog for a walk. So bending in one knee at a time, extending the opposite leg a little bit straighter and sending the heel down towards the ground. So we're getting that more intense stretch on one side at a time. You can always do these pulses, both legs at the same time as well if that feels better for you. Let's come into forward fold this time by walking the feet towards the hands. And then take a nice deep fold here. You can grab through the elbows again, let the head and neck be relaxed. And then we'll roll up. So the knees should be a little bit bent and you want them to remain a little bit bent, but you'll start to straighten through the legs a little bit as you tuck your pelvis under. So that's, of course, your foundation for your spine as you begin to stack the vertebrae one at a time. And also with yoga, yes, sometimes you end up looking a little bit goofy, a little bit silly, and that is totally okay. That is part of it. It's just another way for us to surrender and let go. It doesn't matter what you look like, you're just doing yoga. You're just stretching, it's fine. making sure that you're about a third of the way down your mat to get started with our half sun salutation, or maybe even a little further. I might step right to the middle of my mat for this, just for demonstration purposes. Inhaling, you're bringing your hands up overhead. Exhaling as you draw your hands down the center line. You'll start to lead with your chest coming forward, heading down to forward fold, knees bend, and here we are. Let the head rest. As you start to inhale, you'll draw your body back up, but only halfway, straightening out through the legs, straightening out through the upper body, so you form a right angle, square angle, and then coming down as you exhale again. So every movement corresponds with a breath. So if you listen to my cues, I'll be letting you know. As you come to inhale again, you're rounding up. Same as we did before, maybe a little bit faster, and then lifting the arms up overhead. Exhaling to draw them down. So as I'm doing this for the first time, I realize that it's going to seem really slow, and like these breaths are exceedingly long, but we'll go through this and it'll start to flow a little bit more quickly, and it'll start to make a little bit more sense. So let's do that again now. Inhaling, lifting the arms up overhead, bringing the palms to touch, and then exhale, coming down, forward fold. Slight bend through the knees as you fold forward, letting the head and neck rest. Inhale, drawing your body up into that right angle or square angle. Head reaches forward, legs straighten. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rounding up. You might exhale as you round up as well. It is a bit of a process, and then we're inhaling our hands up, exhaling them down. Just coming back to our starting position in this beautiful standing mountain pose. So actually, let's take a moment in mountain pose just to see what this is all about. So your standing position and how you start really does matter in your flow. So take a look at your feet. They should be about hip distance apart. You want your knees to be gently bent, so you don't really ever want to lock out your joints completely. What that looks like is this, where you really are pushing and locking those knees into place. So they feel sturdy, and you would think that would be good for your balance, but it's actually pretty risky to lock out your joints. They can very, very easily be injured. From there, you want to check in with your pelvis and your hips. A lot of us have a tendency to tilt our pelvis back a little bit or forward a little bit naturally. So you want to find that happy medium where your spine is coming nice and straight out of your hips, and you really feel nice and tall, lifted through this whole body, middle part of the body. You'll even feel your core pull in a little bit as you really find that good aligned point. Shoulders should be back and down already, but just in case you need that little physical reminder. Good. So as we begin again, we'll take our inhale breath, arms up, over, head, palms come to touch, exhale forward. Inhale, halfway lift, crown of the head reaches forward, and exhale, folding again. Inhale, this will be our last half sun salutation, and we'll move into our full sun salutation. Hands come up overhead on an inhale breath. And exhale, releasing. For the full sun salutation, we're going to add on to the half sun salutation, as you might expect. The full sun salutation starts and then ends with that same little series. Reaching up with the breath, forward fold, halfway lift, forward fold. But then we have a little bit more wrapped up in the middle to learn now. So don't be overwhelmed. We're going to go nice and slow again through that sequence for the first time. And then we'll go through it again a couple more times, a little faster. So coming to now about the top third of your mat. So you want more space behind you than in front of you. And we'll begin with that inhale breath. Drawing the hands up, exhale, drawing the hands down, forward fold. Inhale, lifting through the back, come into that half lift, and then exhale. Now the hands are gonna plant down on the floor or into your mat now. As you step back, finding the plank position. So we've been here before, we did our plank. And we're not really staying here for long. I usually will spend one inhale, one exhale, and on the exhale, I will drop my knees and start to drop the chest. So chest comes to the floor again. So we've also been here. This is our cobra, lifting on the inhale. Bringing that chest nice and high, really stretching through the front line of the body, and then exhaling down, pushing the floor away, coming onto all fours. So you can take a little inhale breath in all fours. Then we're going to attack the toes under, starting to come into the plank, but we're really heading into downward facing dog, lifting and sending the hips back as you exhale. Really pressing through the hands, biceps along the ears. Here we like to take a resting breath, even though it's not a very restful pose, I know. And as we start to exhale, we're going to step forward, bringing one foot at a time, back into our forward fold. Exhale, really drop the chest, drop the head, let everything hang out here for a sec. Inhale, let's find that halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rounding up. Hands lift up as you rise all the way, and then exhale. Hands come down through heart center, finishing off in mountain pose again. Hopefully you didn't find that too confusing, but we will, like I said, repeat it, and that is how you learn things. That is how you build muscle memory and get things to stick in terms of the sequence in your mind as well. Although once you've really learned it, your body will almost take over on autopilot. So coming back to your mountain pose, checking in with your feet, your foundation, and then inhaling, bringing those hands up by the sides, and exhaling into your forward fold. Inhale, find halfway lift. Exhale, fold, plant the hands, step back into plank. Take an inhale breath. As you exhale, plant the knees, lower through the chest, keeping the triceps in. Inhale, pressing the floor away, finding cobra, lifting through the chest. Exhale, starting to push the floor away, finding all fours position, lifting the knees, sending the hips nice and high, downward facing dog. Taking a breath here, inhale. Exhale as you start to step forward, bringing the foot towards the wrist, one at a time. Inhale, exhale, fold. Inhale, finding your halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rolling up. Coming back to standing, head and shoulders. Head comes up and then arms come up last. That's what I was trying to say. And then exhaling your hands back down to start for your mountain pose. So sometimes you might find you need a little extra inhale somewhere or an extra exhale, and that's, again, totally fine as long as you're connected with your breath. As long as you're not just, panting and not paying attention to your breath and just trying to get through the movements. It's really about aligning the two of them, even if that means slowing down. I don't know if YouTube has a function, but some podcast apps do where you can slow something down. So if you need something a little slower, that's an option. One more sun salutation. This time we're going to add in an extra pose or two into this flow. So you'll start to see how you can add even more to your sun salutation. So we started with our half sun salutation. We're building into the full one. Now you're going to see how you can get even more out of this little sequence. So inhaling, bringing those arms up, exhaling, coming down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, planting the hands, stepping back, finding your plank position. Inhale. Exhale, drop the knees, drop the chest with control. Inhale for cobra. Exhale down, making your way into tabletop. Maybe you inhale here and then head into downward facing dog. Inhaling here, and then we're actually going to lift up our right leg as we're inhaling. Exhale, you'll start to bend that knee and bring it in towards the chest. Stepping the foot down, coming into a low lunge by lowering down through the back knee. Not having any water nearby was a mistake. It's not that bad, but I do apologize if my voice is starting to crack a bit. We're almost done though. Coming into our low lunge here, we're going to take it back into a half split, sending the hips back and stretching out through the back of that leg, forward folding slightly over the thigh, coming forward again, and we'll sit back 2 more times into that forward fold leg stretch. Inhaling to come forward, exhaling to come back. And then just one more time coming forward into that forward fold. Maybe you want to lift up your arms here. Take a nice big stretch. Look up towards the ceiling. And then bringing the hands down again. Planting them either side of your foot. You can tuck under that back toe and step back into plank. You'll shift into your downward facing dog on an exhale, sending the hips high, lining up the biceps alongside the ears with nice strong arms pressing the floor away. Inhale, lift up that left leg now, any amount, it doesn't have to be super high, and then you'll exhale, bending the knee in towards the chest, seeing if you can step the foot forward. Dropping the back knee down, so again we're coming into that low lunge position, getting acclimated here for a couple of seconds, and then sending the hips back into that forward fold position on an exhale breath. Inhale yourself forward, chest lifts. Exhale, sending the hips back again. Inhale forward. Exhale back. One more time through those 2 poses. On the inhale and exhale breath. You come forward for your low lunge. Take your hands and lift them up overhead, taking a nice big inhale breath, moving up. And then exhale, plant the hands down either side of the foot. So from here, we're going to tuck under the toe of the back, but instead of stepping back into plank, we're going to step forward into forward fold. So you might need to widen through your feet a little bit if you stepped in really close. Really exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, taking that halfway lift for the last time. And exhale. Inhale, rounding up to standing again here. Taking that final inhale and exhale through the arms. Then taking the feet out a little wider, closer to the middle of your mat, so stepping back a little bit and starting to sink down, hands on hips, coming as low as you can into a squat. So when I say as low as you can, I really mean as low as you can. So if you can drop your hips down all the way so that they're just hovering over the floor, that's great. So this is actually a yoga pose called Yogi Squat. You bring your elbows to the insides of your knees, but if this is your first time doing yoga, I don't expect you to be able to do that at all. Find your way to a seat any way that works for you. Now we've challenged through the glutes a little bit with that low squat. Even if you don't sit right to the floor, you are still strengthening through that lower body. Just bringing the feet do, again, about hip width apart. And we're just going to do a little tiny bit with the core. So I don't always include core work in yoga because I don't use yoga as a workout. It can be, sure, and lots of workout moves are inspired by yoga, but we're going to practice boat pose, and it is going to work into the core a little bit. It's also going to work on balance and strength in other areas of the body as well. So making sure your hip bones are nicely planted down on the left and the right. You're going to start to lean back. So already as you lean back, you're going to start to feel that core turn on. So those muscles will be firing in the core. So as you lean back, you keep your back nice and straight. You can start to reach your arms out. Or if that's too challenging, you can continue to hold behind the legs. Then really try to see if you can bring one leg, maybe both legs up, trying to get the shins about parallel with the floor. So your boat pose might look a variety of different ways, but you want to make sure that you're not collapsing through the spine. And then let's release, bringing the feet to the floor. You can bring the feet in nice and close and just give yourself a little hug here. Wrapping the arms around the knees and just hugging everything in close. You might even bring your head forward. Deep breaths. Releasing your hold on yourself here. So a couple of last poses that we'll do from the back. So we are going to come to lie down. You can hold the back of the knees as you come down nice and slow, really leaning back with a straight spine all the way. Coming onto the back and then hugging the knees into the chest, rocking a little bit from side to side. You might have a little pop or a click through your spine as you're doing this. It's pretty normal. These are getting stretched in either ways that they've never stretched before or ways that they haven't stretched in a really long time. So it's no surprise if you've got a few little tight spots. Letting the legs go now, you're going to plant the feet down just a couple inches away from your hips. So you want to be close enough in towards your hips with the feet that you can tickle the backs of your heels, or almost. So from here, we're lifting into bridge pose. So when I say bridge pose, people always think of that full bridge where you lift onto your hands and your feet and create this half circle with your body. But that's not what bridge pose is in yoga. That is wheel pose. We are not going to do that. Don't you worry. It's not one of my favorites. So starting to lift the hips away from the floor, you're going to press through your heels and strengthen through your muscles of your legs to accomplish that. So lifting your belly and your hips up as high as they can go. Once you get them as high as they can go, you'll start to lift onto your shoulder blades, so tucking your shoulders in underneath your chest, interlacing the fingers and pressing the arms into the floor. It's going to give you even more height on your bridge. You might even start to relax through the leg muscles a little bit as you get into your very highest bridge, and just kind of relaxing here rather than having it be such a workout. If you do really want to, work and strengthen, you can try lifting up one leg at a time, pointing the toe towards the ceiling, and bringing it back down, and doing the same on the other side. Just for that one brief moment, and then let's lower down, releasing the shoulders and rolling from the top of the spine down, so reversing the direction of that spinal wave that we've been practicing. From here, you can let your knees just flop over to one side and then the other side. I call this windshield wiper legs for obvious reasons. This feels really good on the spine and the hips. So our last couple poses here are going to be a spinal twist and a nice little inner hip stretch. But our spinal twist, we'll start with that Left leg, knee is going to come in towards the chest. Right leg is going to go out long. So here you're going to take your right arm, you're going to extend it long out from the shoulder on the floor. So it's relaxed, it's heavy. That's the wrong arm. I always have to make at least one mistake in a yoga video. It's the left arm that's going to go long. Right hand is needed to help that left knee over as we twist through the center of the body. So just your daily reminder that it's okay to make minor mistakes. It literally happens to everyone all the time. So don't be hard on yourself, even if it's going to go on YouTube and be there forever. Just taking some deep breaths and reconnecting to that belly breath as well if you haven't in a while. Keeping that left shoulder planted down as you help your knee towards the right side with that right hand. Letting gravity slowly work on this stretch with you as you hold. And then release. Coming back onto the back, you might notice that you've got a little bit off center on your mat. And that's totally normal. Happens all the time with these spinal twists. So let's switch sides. Your left leg's going to go out long as you bring your right knee in towards the chest now. This time it is the right arm that's going to go long out from the shoulder. You're going to keep that shoulder down on the ground as you bring your right knee across the body gently using the left hand. So really just taking it easy. You don't want to go too far too fast. You don't want that right shoulder lifting up and away, because that's going to negate your twist. Just gently staying here, tracking that right knee down with gravity. As things are opening, you'll find you can bring it lower and lower with patience and practice. Open deeper and deeper through. Now it's your side hip and your spine really twisting deep into those areas of the body. And releasing back onto the back. So our very last pose is a happy baby pose. So this one most people really like. You're going to bring your knees into chest, both of them, hugging them in and bringing them out towards the armpits. Your knees towards your armpits, and then you're going to take your hands, grabbing the outside edges of your feet, so the pinky side edges of the feet, and then you're going to extend the soles of the feet towards the ceiling. As you keep those knees out towards the armpits or widen them even further, you get this really deep hip opening that's pretty accessible to most people. If you find that you can't reach your feet, then this is a great place to add a strap if you have one. Any kind of tie or belt, any kind of, even a kitchen towel, if it's long enough, will work. I like to use the belt for my houseboat. That works super good as a yoga strap. You can put that around the feet and just hold it in the hands. And then you'll have a little bit more space to extend out. So here you can rock from side to side. That usually starts to just happen naturally. Hopefully you have enough space around you to accommodate that. And then let's release those feet, bringing them down to the floor, and then you can extend the legs out long, just making sure you've got enough room on your mat surface for your whole body to rest comfortably. You don't want your heels on the hard floor or something like that as you're trying to relax. Bringing your arms down alongside your body, giving a few inches of space. Resting palms face up so that your shoulders tuck slightly under your chest. And then starting to let your body relax. you can also tuck your pelvis under slightly, getting your lower back into a nicer alignment with the rest of your spine. Letting the feet just walk out to the side. Starting to feel into the body again, noticing those deep belly breaths. Really breathing in a way that expands through the belly so that you could, if you were to open your eyes, you would just be able to see it rising and falling. If it does help you, you can bring your hands to that space and feel the rise and fall through the stomach. Exhales, you're also emptying out all the way, using your abdomen to slightly push in so that your navel comes towards your spine with every exhale. Really filling the whole body, the whole torso with your inhales right down to the belly, but also thinking about expanding through the side body, through the back body, through the upper chest, right up to the collarbones. Just these absolutely huge inhales. Where I will leave you for today in what we call Shavasana or corpse pose. So it's usually recommended that you spend about 3 to 5 minutes in this position, just breathing on the floor after a yoga practice in order to let everything sink into your body so your muscles can start to remember everything, all the poses, all the sequences, to let the mental health benefits really sink in too. This part of the practice isn't 100% necessary right now if you need to move on with your day and you only budgeted the amount of time for the video. But I do recommend, if you have a little bit more time, to just stay here in this restful position and just enjoy how your body feels. So thank you so much for joining me for another yoga YouTube practice. And if you were a complete beginner, I really applaud your efforts in getting through this whole video, and you've really done something awesome for your mind and your body today. So check out some of my other videos if you want to learn more. Hit the like and definitely subscribe because I've been making a lot more of these videos lately and you don't want to miss them. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of your week.